Mitch Marner a sign and trade with Vegas. So he signs an 8-year deal with the Leafs, traded to Vegas for Nicholas Waugh coming back. Nicholas Waugh was on that cup-winning team a few years ago. 6'4", 200.
Crazy, man. It's crazy to announce that, Hayes. Like, it just seemed like, I don't know, it seems like we're all getting old. Like, it doesn't seem like that long ago this kid was coming up and he was going to be the Toronto kid, the superstar, and it was going to last forever.
Well, yeah, you're right, man. You're right. Like, the exit of Marner, like, he's been in the organization for a decade. They drafted him 4th overall in the McDavid draft, right? Yeah. Every Leaf fan was hoping they'd win the lottery like every other team.
Like, how are you kind of racking this up with, like, a Vince Carter exit and different players? Like, where does it resonate for you as far as exits of kind of star players and golden boys in the city?
I can't think of a more polarizing, superstar in the city in recent years, and I can't think of a more, kind of vitriolic exit for a superstar in my lifetime. I mean,
by the fans?
Yeah,
or by the player,
I guess, Vince is different. I should say Maple Leaf, because Carter was different, and Carter was pulling on the, I always talk about it, the sensitive kind of self-esteem issues that Raptor fans had, that players didn't want to be here, and Vince was going to be different, and then he just kind of ripped the rug from underneath them, and he quit on the team, and he demanded out. Marner didn't demand out, right? So you got to keep that in perspective. He didn't demand out. He wanted out, clearly. Clearly, he wanted out, and that's why I keep driving at. I'd love to know when he made up this decision. It would appear to me it was last summer. He decided, I'm out of here, and maybe it was going to Vegas, and he knew it was going to be available to him. But he didn't demand out like Vince. He didn't quit on them, right? Like Vince quit. Like he didn't quit. Marner didn't play well in the biggest games, but neither did other players on his team. So I don't think you can just hold that against him. But what was always different about Mitch was he was a local guy. It was supposed to be different. The fact that he's the first guy of the core 4 leaving, that's probably what's most shocking to me. Is that
he's the first?
Yeah, like he's the local guy, and maybe we should have seen it the whole time because of the way his first contract went down, the rumors of how him and Babcock, Lou Lamoriello not giving him the same bonuses that they gave Matthews, which was a real point of contention by all accounts within the Marner camp. So maybe there had been a kind of a crumb trail laid out for the last 9 years that this was inevitable, but I do think Vince was unanimously hated. Like, there wasn't anyone that supported Vince Carter. There are people that wanted Mitch to return, that still, I think, were in the Mitch Marner corner of things, if you're a Leaf fan. But I would say if it was 50-50, 2 or 3 months ago, it's probably 75-25, 75 being loud and really not happy with him and more than happy that he's gone. And now thinking, this guy, what's going to keep coming up, jammed you on getting Mikko Rantanen, could have had him, but Mitch said no.
Yeah. The one thing about this guy that I've never understood, and it was part, and I'm not trying to kick his rear end on the way out the door. He was a fantastic player. He was paid a lot. It was appropriately paid. But I never understood his PR with the way he just... It seemed like he always had this thing where he was kind of getting screwed somehow, and I never really understood that. I don't know. People were always all over him, or he was getting the short end of the stick, or I don't know. I could never figure that. And maybe I read that wrong, or I was like, you're one of the best players on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Everybody loves watching you play on the ice. How you're getting paid an enormous amount of money. I just never understood the idea of him getting screwed, or like he was being screwed somehow.
I just don't think he was very comfortable in front of the microphone. I don't think he was comfortable. He's not a guy that, by all accounts, behind the scenes, very funny guy, very outgoing, quick-witted, in the dressing room, all of that. In front of a microphone, it just seemed like he was not comfortable in his own skin, talking about his game, talking about the Leafs. He seemed to have this force field around him, this guard up, regardless. You could ask him how, behind the scenes, how you doing, and chat it up. In front of a camera, how are you doing? It was very
tense
short.
And tight.
It was tense. That's the word.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe he just goes to a new market where, like I say, you just every day, maybe there's some media there for him, maybe not.
What's going to be proven here? What's going to be proven, because there's always been this discussion here. You know, there's too much pressure. It's too heavy, come playoff time in particular. I don't think this applies at all during the regular season, certainly not in the summer. It's unbelievable to be a Maple Leaf up in Muskoka in the summer. It couldn't be a better place on earth to be a celebrity or anything of the likes. But, you know, there is a belief, and maybe it's true, that it's so tense, it's so pressure-packed, it's so difficult to succeed in the playoffs here because of the history, because of how tightly, you know, strung the fan base is, how everyone's so on edge about past failures and them, you know, repeating themselves again. Where if he goes to Vegas and he just is unbelievable in the biggest games, then he could actually be an example of this being the case, that it's a Toronto issue. But if he goes to Vegas and he fades in the biggest games, because the biggest games are waiting for him in Vegas. They're a very good team that are going to the playoffs every year. If he gets to Game 7 next year and he's a shell, it's not Toronto. It's not the bright lights. It's not the pressure. It's him. And that is what I think people, it's difficult to determine. You know, was it the pressure? Was it, you know, that he's from here? All that kind of stuff? Or was it that he's just not wired for it? Because I'm not convinced he's wired for it. Like, I don't know if he is. I don't know if he can step up in the biggest games when it gets tough.
Don't just think, fans or people listening, that just because he's in Vegas with palm trees and the desert and all the Vegas lights, that there won't be pressure on him to perform in big games. Like,
huge pressure. Highest paid player on the team.
But it's more of the business pressure. That's what I think, you know, it's Bill Foley.
Well, it's the do it or don't pressure.
Right.
It's not like he's going to leave the rink and it's going to be like, oh, you stink at the gas station.
Right.
It'll be the do it or don't pressure of the on-ice element.
Right. Which is a big difference, to be fair. Big difference.
It is a big difference, but it's still, that's what I was saying last hour. The business pressure will still be there because the NHL is the NHL. Wherever you play, the NHL is still the NHL. They are expected to win. And George McPhee is a very, very intense guy. So is Kelly McCrimmon. You see Bill Foley sitting in the box. And those guys, they want to win. They've won before. The expectation is, hey, we're bringing in a superstar, and we're paying you $12 million a year. You've got to perform.
Yeah.
The difference will be is everything else that comes with it. Getting to the rink, all of that type of stuff. It'll just be a lifestyle change. So we'll see how it unfolds for him.
Yeah.
But it's going to be shocking.
It's not the same history there at all. I mean, it's Vegas.
No.
They've been in the league for, 8 years, 9 years. It's a totally different experience. And, you know, that really, it's amazing the way he's going out here because, again, it's a sign and trade. He was a free agent. He didn't demand out. But you look at it, you know, someone just sent this to me. Fastest player in franchise history to reach 700 career points. Holds the longest point streak in team history. 4th all-time in assists. 5th in points. Tied for 4th in points per game. Like, all these things he's got. A local kid, and yet he's leaving. And a lot of people, like, get out. Like, we're happy to see him leave because of the way I think he played in the biggest moments.
I know. There's a lot of stupid fans being keyboard warriors.
But it's not just keyboard warriors, dude. It's a lot of people that aren't on Twitter. It's the guy in the truck driving down the 401 too. It's not just keyboard warrior guy. It's a lot of people. And I think what this is, the reason why I think a lot of people were the reason he's leaving with the amount of vitriol and the reason he's leaving and maybe even being compared to Vince Carter is because it never felt like, I don't know, it never felt like, you know, he really wanted it all for the Leafs, I guess. I don't even know how to formulate this thought. Like, he wanted the money, the access, and all that, but it wasn't like he put it all on the line for the Leafs, or he wasn't willing to take a discount for the Leafs, or he didn't love being a Leaf, and now he wants out. And I think that is what a lot of people take personally. And a lot of Leaf fans are like, all right, then get out of here. And if that's your perception that I just got to get out of here and I don't want to do this anymore, people aren't going to like that.
But
there's no doubt about that.
With it, there wasn't playoff success. So that's the other thing that I think the fans you're talking about, Brian.
And he has to own that, Gene.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable for people to be unhappy with that.
He's part of that. He's part of what we were talking about. We talked about it for how many years? Realistically, not, the first 4 or 5, you're like, okay, this team is young, the core is still growing and that. But realistically, what has it been? The last 5 years where it's like, core four, these guys, with Tavares involved and all of that, you got to do something different. Top heavy, especially forwards. It's not spread out through the team. You got to break it up. Dubas, by all accounts, maybe wanted to. Maybe Shanny didn't want it to. All of this stuff. So now that it's coming, whether it's organic, whether the player chose it or Brad Treliving made it happen, it's happened. So that era of the core four, it's over. It's there's still a core three, you can call it.
Well, that's an interesting point. Like, did the Leafs really instigate this? I don't think so. Like, by all accounts, Brad Treliving was knocking on the door of his agent 3 or 4 months ago, begging to negotiate or trying to negotiate. So the Leafs, I don't think the Leafs are in the right to be like, well, we needed to break up the core four. You didn't do anything.
But there was a lot of
Mitch
things that were out of Brad Treliving's hands. The way that this guy's contract was structured, let's
valid.
be real here.
Very valid. But it has been reported on that they were trying to negotiate. Doesn't mean they would have agreed to terms.
Right.
But Mitch determined maybe last summer, I'm out of here. I don't get the impression the Leafs had that thought.
Well, that's exactly right. He determined I'm out of here, and when they approached him with some kind of trade possibility, he was like, now I'm really out of here, so don't even bother with anything.
Well, and the other thing, too, is, you're still trying to manage assets, regardless of emotion. We just talked about, we just posted, Joe from the Bridge posted the type of stats this guy's put up. He's been a superstar. He's been an all-star. He played four nations face-off, all of that. And he almost walked out the door. Yes, you get Nicholas Waugh, you get cap relief, but in the end, I think when you're talking about Brad Treliving either wanting to sign him or move away from him, you're trying to asset manage. You're trying to go, okay, either sign with us or let us trade you. And I think that's probably what was going on all season long. So if you're mad at somebody, you're going, okay, Mitch has earned the right to go to unrestricted free agency. He's earned the right to do this. But all along, we don't know if Brad Treliving was going to them last summer saying, let's deal with this now because it's going to be a gong show a year from now, regardless of what happens.
And that's, again, you're right. Like, Mitch had the right to do all this. Right. But when you're dealing with fandom, it is irrational by nature. It's fickle by nature. Matt Sundin had the right to say, I have a no-movement clause. I'm not going anywhere.
Every player does. But that's the reason they signed it. So it's almost like you shouldn't even bother asking them.
Right. But this is a separate chat. That's the player, GM, business chat. I'm talking the fans. Like, if you're asking me why the fans are feeling the way they're feeling, is because they're not rational all the time. They don't look at it like, well, he had the right to do that. It was in his contract. It's like, well, if you wanted out, why didn't you hook up your hometown team and let them get Mikko Rantanen?
I think the fans, the fans act like they know what goes on behind the scenes with the no trade and the possible trade, and they could have had Rantanen. But at the end of the day, it comes down to winning. And in the biggest games, this group together, and he was a part of it, they couldn't pull the trigger on big wins.
Yeah.
So that kind of is the crux of all the disappointment, anger. They can say, oh, this guy screwed us. We could have got Rantanen, or why didn't he block this? We could have had I don't think they know. I don't think they're informed enough. It all comes down, the anger comes down from the team not winning, and he was a part of that.
That is very true. That is ultimately at the core of almost everything. If you're a Leaf fan, it's that they never met expectations. Like the Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and then you add Tavares core four era. It didn't do it, and now it's broken up. But there's still guys here that have a chance to change that, right? Like if you're Austin Matthews, you have a chance to change it. William Nylander's. John Tavares is going to likely retire a Maple Leaf now. So you got four more cracks at him, man.